Steel Curtain Network.
¡Touchdown! ¡Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt.
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Steelers post-game show. The Steelers lose. We haven't had one of these in a while, since week 2, and they lose in really deflating fashion, 33-31 to the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Let's welcome in the crew. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Bryan Davis and Dave Schofield. What's up, Bryan?
Hey, I'm always glad to be here. I do want to go to bed, though, because this is just, it's depressing because you get your hopes up and you feel that when there's a game that you're supposed to win and you don't, it's just, like you said, absolutely deflating.
All right, Dave Schofield, what's up?
Well, this is a hard one because I kept saying in a couple of shows that I shouldn't expect the Steelers to win this game because they're on the road on Thursday Night Football. It's just the way it is. I even tweeted out the stats for the entire AFC North and all that other stuff ahead of time. It just seems like they're really up against it. I picked them because they were the better team, but I said if they don't lose this one, I'm not going to hold it against them. But what the defense did out there tonight, that's really hard not to hold it against them.
Offense puts up 31 points. You think it'd be enough to win with this defense, and unfortunately, it is not. Brandon Diaz gives us $1.99, says win early, trap game, win later, collapse, repeat. Unfortunately, you're right. Isaac Aguilera gives us $5, says $41 million a year for a guy that barely shows up. The defense was atrocious every year, the same old story. He's referring to, obviously, Trent Jordan-Watt, who did eventually have a sack, and compared to some of his counterparts, actually showed up on the stat line in a couple ways. The whole defense was bad. Let's do knee-jerk reactions, though. Bryan, I'll let you go first.
You know, just absolutely not good enough. And it was a weird game. And the reason I'm going to go ahead and say that is because they had a chance to go up 14-0, and they get a penalty. So Jaylen Warren is negated from I thought that would have really put the Bengals behind the 8 ball. Next thing you know, it's 10-0, and that's easy to overcome. 2 weird interceptions. You know, the one, underthrown, I get it. The other one just plain weird. And then you get a great play when you don't need the great play. You need a sustained drive. I know you don't go down. Pat Fryermuth's not going to go down with 2:20 left in the game. You just don't do that.
Nah.
But in a way, I wish he would have, just because. And that's something you absolutely don't do. T. Higgins, yeah, you do that in that spot. But the bottom line to the whole thing, they have 20 more seconds. They could have won that game.
Yeah, Tom plays games who Tom Muir gives us $2, says, I hate Joe Flacco. That is all. So I just wanted to get that out there real quick. Dave, what's your knee-jerk reaction?
70%. The Steelers gave up points on 70% of the Bengals' drives. They held them for punts the first 2 of the game, and then the one later that was a surrender. 0 3-and-outs. To me, this is just yikes. The defense, you know what they played like? They played like an aging defense that had to play a game on the road 5 days after playing the last one.
Yeah, that's fact. I'll say this. The fact that Jamar Chase got 23 targets. 23 targets. How many receptions did he end up with, Dave? Do you happen to know that off the top of your head?
You said 16?
Who? Jamar Chase.
I believe it's 16, isn't it?
Yeah, he had 16 receptions for 161.
But he was targeted 23 times. Mm-hmm. At what point are you going to make some type of adjustment? I know that in-game adjustments are, I think, and Coach Kevin Smith has said this, that a lot of times, like, people think that in halftime they're drawing up new stuff because it really doesn't work that way. But you do have to make some adjustments in game. It seemed like the Steelers did nothing different, and that's what's maybe the most disappointing aspect of this. All right, let's get to some super chats here. Thanks, Mean Joe gives us $5. As the Bengals score on 8 of 9 final drives. It started way back in the second quarter. Ridiculous. That was kind of what you were alluding to there, Dave, for sure. John, I think it's Liam Bruno. Hope I said that correctly. If not, I apologize. Gives us $5. Says the defense will get the focus, and it should, but the turnovers were the difference in an otherwise tight game. Can't deny that, especially when they got points off of those turnovers, which does then lean itself back. And I believe this was the first game that a turnover from the Steelers, they only had 3 coming into this game, actually got turned into points. The defense normally did a good job bailing them out. Steeler fan 69 gave us $5. Said, asked bad, what are the 2 reasons I regret renting an apartment above Lionel Richie?
Because he's always dancing on the ceiling.
Keeps dancing on the ceiling. He goes
all night long.
And then Punk Drummer 3R gives us $4.99. It says, I took a half day of work for this. Should have just worked a full day. Man, Steelers, I needed you. There are times where you ask yourself, why did I do anything? Like, why did I get so invested? Why did I get so mad? But that's what this team does. It's a toxic relationship. I've talked about that on a bunch of different podcasts. Here we go. Let's hear. As it, I have Connor, TA. I'm sorry, TC. We'll call you $5. He said, "Did you see Broderick tackle Rodgers after the touchdown pass?" Broderick Jones. He got called for there was a holding call which negated the Roman Wilson first down reception, and then the next play was the 68-yard Pat Freiermuth touchdown. So there you go. But I did see him. Yeah, he got there pretty good. All right. No more super chats for the time being. We'll get to those as they come in. Let's talk about the stat lines. We start with Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 34, 249 yards, 7.3 average, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, was not sacked again for a rating of 103.7. Oh my gosh, I said 250.5 on my over-under. It's 249. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
I just missed that. Wow. I didn't see that I didn't realize that until just now. Wow.
For those that don't listen to the Steelers preview, you might not be getting that, but that's on our over-under game. So
I'm checking that.
Bryan, I'll let you go first. What did you think about Aaron Rodgers?
You know, the first interception I thought was underthrown, and I thought that was his fault. And he was throwing it into, I believe he was throwing it into double coverage there. He was throwing it, the second interception. I'm not really going to excuse that one either, because it was a catch that was stripped of him. Yeah. But it's still an interception. But I think he was over relying on, at first, on DK Metcalf there, and maybe with him getting the ball out quick, he's not looking everywhere he needs to go. So, but most of all, I trust. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I think 20 more seconds, I think 10 more seconds, they probably win this game because of the way he can move the ball down the field. I will say that Hail Mary pass was pretty impressive, even though it didn't land.
Yeah.
I still thought he had a good game. I can't say you had a horrible game when you have 4 touchdown passes and you looked like you had command most of the time. My biggest problem was when they got cute and the flea flicker was a mess. But really, I don't feel like Aaron Rodgers lost the game. I don't feel like the offense lost the game. I feel like the defense did. We'll get to that.
I don't think that flea flicker was supposed to happen. First and foremost.
It wasn't. He checked out of it, and he's like, "Why did you just throw the ball back to me? You were supposed to keep running."
Yeah. So, but nonetheless, they did get cute, especially in the first half when the field got short. Once they crossed midfield, it's like, let's open up our bag of fun little tricks, and it just never worked. But Dave, what did you think about Rodgers specifically?
I thought he did a very nice job. The one thing, the second interception is not on him at all. Yeah, no. I don't even know that it's that much on DK other than just a weird, fluky play that was really good by the defense. But the first one, the biggest problem I had is I'm like, okay, he saw that they brought an extra man into the box, everything. It didn't, and decided to take the deep shot. But the Steelers were just running the ball down their throats. And think of that. They were up. They were okay when the interception happened. Wasn't that they had just given up a touchdown?
Yep.
So they were on. So the 10 nothing was cut to 10-7. You really kind of needed to with less under 5 minutes or 4.5 minutes left in the game. You needed to do something there. You needed to hold that ball and have a nice sustained drive and hold it to the end of the half and pick up 3 or 7 or whatever you could there. And as well as they were running the ball, I don't like the huge deep shot at that moment. Of course, if he connects, I'm like, oh my goodness, what a brilliant play. But that one kind of hurt. But other than that, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was out there. I mean, he didn't panic and dump the ball off really fast. I mean, my goodness, how many times did he roll out of the pocket? I mean, that touchdown pass, the first one, was over 8 seconds. So there were so many things that against a very poor defense that they did fine. I don't think that was the problem. Yes, the turnovers, you could, the 10 points off of them, definitely you could say that's where the offense contributed to the loss. But other than that, they were doing a nice job with everything.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think Bryan said it best when he was in command of the game. He knew what to do, get him in the right plays. Unfortunately, it just didn't always work out that way. The interception, the first one, was not good. It was probably way too close to the hash and underthrown. The second one, what are you going to do? That's a great defensive play. I don't put this loss on Aaron Rodgers in any way, shape, or form. I don't necessarily believe that he was like a winner on my winners list, but that's just because of the outcome. If, let's say, the Steelers find a way to keep them off the scoreboard at the end of the game, they win 31-30, we're talking totally different, and his stat line doesn't change. Yeah. So I think that the outcome of the game does skew the way we view a position like the quarterback, and in this case, Aaron Rodgers. Bryan, did you want to say something or no?
You know, I thought he was the better quarterback in this game, except for the guy on the other side had Jamar Chase.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right, Andrew Palladino gave us $9.99 and says, Tomlin is a magician. He tricks us into believing the bones are good. These losses reveal the rot. Every trap game ends of being one of the worst defensive performances of Tomlin's career. Stop the bleed. Okay.
I'm sorry, but when you're the visiting team on Thursday Night Football, there is no such thing as a trap game. There isn't.
I'll back you on that.
Especially in the AFC North. No such thing, because the visiting team is way up against it. If they could actually pull off a win, it's a really big deal. And it sucks that they didn't, because they were such a better team. But if you think this is a trap game, it should not be, because everyone should know that on Thursday Night Football, as the visiting team, you are at a huge disadvantage.
Yes, no, you're right. And if you haven't listened to Dave's podcast, he's outlined that a bunch of times. So go back and listen if you want. Cass gives us $4.99, says Joe effing Flacco. Also, did the Bengals completely replace their offensive line? Who even was that team? If you watched the game last week against the Packers, you saw glimpses of what we saw tonight.
Yeah, they only gave one sack last week?
Yeah, it was much better. So, I watched a good bit of the game last week. I knew it was going to be a close game. I predicted 23-20. I didn't think it was going to be this many points. I knew it was going to be a close game. Let's go to Ryan Kellerman, gives us $4.99. Said the highest paid defense just to let Jamar Chase run up and down the field, shaking my head. Worst defensive performance since Baltimore in the playoffs. That wasn't that long ago, unfortunately. And then Grayson Brown gives us $10, says, Cy, Thursday Night Football feels rigged. It heavily favors home teams. The AFC North road teams, as Dave said, are 2-18 in divisional Thursday games, 0-10 in the last 10 games. This was a weird, one-sided game. I will say, Grayson, those are good points and stuff that, we've also reiterated. There were some very weird aspects of this game. The officiating was weird. Calls that were made or not made, it was odd.
I never saw DK Metcalf not get set, but I couldn't see it very well. But Chris Carter tweeted out that he's like, DK Metcalf just got flagged for not getting set when he was completely set.
Oh, so he got flagged for a false start or just?
That was on the offsetting penalties when
Oh,
I
okay.
think they still scored a touchdown on that play on that drive, didn't they? Anyway,
I think so.
yeah, but
Yeah. All right, so
Yeah.
we got a couple others. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on that, I never like to talk about fixes, but I think there's a Thursday night fix. I agree with that. And here's the reason why is because it feels like the referees make calls to get the teams that are losing early back in the game. Because one thing the NFL loves to do is send out that tweet. It's a close game in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
They do not want they want to draw you in. And I feel like calls are swayed, everything for every single team. I felt that last week again. I hate Philadelphia. I was happy with New York beating them, but Philadelphia got doubled up last week.
yeah.
So it's Thursday night is just a weird animal, and we always look when we do the schedule, fellas. We always look, where's the bye? I think from now on, it's like, all right, where's the Thursday night?
We all three picked them to lose this game
Yeah, but
whenever it first came out. But then we got all enamored of, oh, the Bengals aren't very good. And I'm like, I know I'm drinking the cool. I thought because they broke that week 3 and week 4 curse, even though I went with it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they'll break this one too.
but why are they
and
always
did.
on the road on Thursday nights? It seems.
Yeah, which is funny as a season ticket holder. I hate seeing home Thursday night games, but as a Steelers fan, I'm like, I bring them on because they are way easier to win than the road ones. There's no bigger home field advantage unless you are the NFC West because they are exactly opposite of everything than on Thursday Night Football.
All right, so let's get a couple super chats here. Nathan Smith gives us $4.99. Says their inability to break the mold on Thursday Night Football doesn't give much confidence in their ability to break the mold on Wild Card Weekend.
I even said in December, I said that on, I think, was it Pittsburgh Standard Time? Or was it? I've done so many shows in such a condensed time, I don't even remember which one it was. He's exactly right. Exactly right.
Quint gives us $5. Says short weeks magnify game prep. Tomlin is 2-10 on the road and 11-12 overall on Thursday Night Football.
That's correct.
Had one guy to stop, Jamar Chase. He's not a good coach, period. I will say that whatever your feelings are about Mike Tomlin, there is a lot of fact in what Quint just said. In the fact that when you give Mike Tomlin extra time, what do we always say? Coming off the bye. I mean, the guy is a ridiculous game planner. But on a short week, and Dave, you alluded to this, I think, on Pittsburgh Standard Time, they absolutely do start game planning for a Thursday night game the week before.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that had a lot to do with Mike Tomlin being pissed off about Andrew Berry trading Joe Flacco because maybe that changed some stuff. I don't care. And they sure did talk about that enough. But, man, it does make you question, how do you let a Joe Flacco who's been there for 10 days have Jamar Chase open? Let's be honest. He had 16 catches. Probably should have had 20. Some of the drops that he had, and he was targeted 23 times. We'll get to the defense, so I'm sure that's going to be a fun segment. Okay, let's go back to the stat line. Let's talk about the running game. Oh my gosh, the Steelers had a decent running game. They total as a team 20 carries for 147 yards, 7.4 average. They don't score a touchdown, but a long run of 37 yards, which was Jalen Warren, 16 carries, 127 yards, a 7.9 average, and he had that 37-yard long. Brian, what did you think about the running game?
Phenomenal. My biggest problem with the running game is they did not run it enough. I know Dave alluded to that already. I feel like 20 carries should have been 27.
Okay. Dave, thoughts on the running game?
Yeah, Coach Sean was asked a weird question at the post-game press conference about abandoning the running game in the second half. I'm like, yeah, they had 8 carries for 82 yards in the second half. But what's crazy is they're 3 and out. They ran it on the first 2 plays. And that was their next to last possession before it was, hurry up. So it's not that they stopped running it. But they did take some, I think someone said in the live chat is where I'm hearing this, or if I saw it on X, but the whole comment of when they don't run it well, they want to keep running it. When they're running it really good, they want to mix it up with the pass, is what it kind of seems like. But Brian's right. I wish they would have had more than 20 carries compared to 34 passing attempts. especially early on when they had that lead. Yeah, you gave up a touchdown, but you had an opportunity to then say, you know what, we're going to match it with at least a field goal, and continue to keep the lead in the game. And instead, they just crapped it all away in the second quarter.
I will say that, and this is going to sound like, I'm definitely a glass half full type guy. And I think that there are some positives to take away from this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the running game was one of them.
Yeah.
They have found something with this Spencer Anderson, the way they utilize that little interior pitch that they do, which it allows Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren, who have good vision, to kind of pick their spots. And it's working. And I know the Bengals' run defense isn't that great, but it worked against Minnesota, and it worked against Cleveland last week. They're finding something. So while everyone wants to just, pile on the defense, rightfully so, they deserve it. I do think it's important to note that there were some facets of this game that could be seen as a step in the right direction. I thought the running game was one of them. Steel Dog 88 gives us $5. Says this game was a total lack of effort on the defense, in my opinion. I don't think you're going to find many people to argue with you, Steel Dog, if I'm being honest. All right, let's go back to the stat lines. Let's go to the receiving. So now the Steelers have 23 catches, 249 yards total, a 10.8-yard average, 4 touchdowns, a 68-yard
all by tight ends.
All by tight ends, and he has 33 targets. Pat Freiermuth leads the way. 5 catches, 111 yards, 222.2 average, and 2 touchdowns. He had 6 targets, mind you.
Did someone call that a couple weeks ago? I'm just curious.
You did. DK Metcalf, 3 catches on 5 targets for 50 yards. Jalen Warren, 4 for 31. Jonnu Smith, 3 for 28 and a touchdown. Darnell Washington, 3 catches, 2 yards, 5 targets, 1 touchdown.
Well, he had minus 8 yards on one of those.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the pass catchers? Brian, I'll let you go first.
I thought they were getting open. Roman Wilson, I'm going to give him credit. Scotty Miller with a very good catch at one point. I thought with all those guys that they were targeting, I really thought the offense was clicking. I mean, 4 touchdowns and a field goal, that's pretty good. The big problem was that field goal should have been a touchdown. Now, Dave brought up all tight ends. Dave, I have never seen a time when the Steelers had 3 different tight ends catch a touchdown pass, and they almost had 4 because Connor Hayward
I forgot about that play.
Was targeted in the end zone. So, I look at that, I'm like, they have we keep on saying wide receiver number 2, but I don't think they're concerned with it because they're very comfortable. And if you're going to look at one thing that's very important going forward, it's the return of Pat Freiermuth, where he never went away, but he was just struggling to connect. And Rodgers, both of them mutually were struggling to connect. Now, you think Rodgers wanted him more throughout the game because we didn't want to pick the 4 targets. We all went under on Freiermuth because he just hasn't been getting it. But when you look at Freiermuth saying, hey, my time will come, well, his time came today. And so that's another step forward on this offense. So I really like the pass catchers in this game. I expect them to add one in 2 weeks, but I don't really, I don't think that they're desperate right now if they don't.
Okay. Dave, what are your thoughts on the pass catchers?
I thought they did a very nice job. The one blemish was DK letting that ball get taken away from him on the sideline. That was a nice, I said it before, a nice play by the defender. And I'll just say, the offense was the problem.
The offense was? Is that what you said?
Was not the problem.
Oh, I thought you said was. Yeah. It's like, man, I feel like we saw.
It's getting to be 12:30. It's tough to.
I was like, I feel like we're watching a different game. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, the offense was.
Okay, so all right, the pass catchers. I agree with what Brian said. The more I think about it, the more I don't know what the Steelers are going to do at the deadline in terms of adding pass catching help. And I have to remind myself, just because I'm just going to make this blanket statement because I know people are talking about it. Think about Mike Williams last year. They sign him, they bring him in, they trade the Jets for him, and he does nothing until after he does the game-winning catch against the Commanders. I remember that, but they getting on the moving train was very difficult for him, as Mike Tomlin puts it. I liked what I saw from Roman Wilson. They're starting to trust him a little bit. If they trust Pat Freiermuth the way that they have today in other areas and other stadiums, they might have a pretty good arsenal of weapons, especially for the way they move the ball. They're not a big chunk offense, They're kind of like a methodically move it down the field. All right, let's finish this up talking about the offensive line now, because we talked about all the quarterback. Again, the Bengals did not sack Aaron Rodgers. So this is the third game they haven't surrendered a sack? Did they give up a sack against Minnesota and Dublin?
No, I'm trying to remember if they surrendered one against New England.
They did not.
It might be 4.
Holy shnikes, that's crazy. Quarterback hits.
2.
So I know sometimes people say, well, this, that, or the other with the offensive line. What did you think about that, Brian?
I can't blame the offensive line for too much. I mean, I didn't like the fact. I still don't know who had the penalty, whether it was Frazier or Washington. I can't remember really what happened.
On the
it was Frazier.
Play? It was
on the touchdown.
It was Frazier.
Yeah, it was pretty blatant.
Okay. I thought they were trying to call Washington at one point on that.
No, Herb Streak said he thought it was Washington, and then they showed it was Frazier.
And then, of course, Broderick had that takedown. Of course, but for the most part, I mean, exactly what Jeff said. This Spencer Anderson experience, he is now a fan favorite. 74. I mean, just like Banner, 72 now, 74. But the best part about it, Dave, and I'm singling out Dave here, is because he always talked about when you say that 72 is eligible or 76 is eligible back with Chooks and then Banner. When you said that, you knew what was coming. Now, because of the tight ends, it's not predictable. And this is I think you're going to see more games in the 30s.
Maybe.
And it's the offensive line. I'm not saying they're a strength yet. They're getting help. Broderick's getting help, but Broderick's not the problem anymore.
No. Dave, what's your take on the O-line?
Well, they weren't going up against a very good defense, but 5 days ago they did. And they got the job done 5 days ago. And then what they do in this one, what you would expect, they looked much better and stronger against this defensive line than what they did the last one. That's what you want to see from them. Not just kind of the same old thing if it's not as good as a quality of opponent. So that's exactly what I wanted to see. Does this tell you now that this is the best offensive line in the league? No, because like I said, it's not like they were going up against the Browns. But they dominated the Bengals. That's the thing. If you're going up against not a very good defensive front, you need to dominate. And that's what I feel like they did.
Yeah. A huge step this offensive line has been the epitome of improvement this season. From week 1 and the shots in week 2 against Seattle, the shots that Aaron Rodgers was taking, he's got more time. He's able to drive the ball down the field more. It looks night and day different.
He had complete trust in that today.
Absolutely.
It seemed like.
Absolutely. So if you're looking for a positive, I think this is where you look. And you look at the offensive side of the ball, especially the offensive line, opening up the lanes, protecting the quarterback. We'll go with that. All right, Justin Gall gives us $9.99. Says Aaron Rodgers and this offense look amazing. They are really fun to watch. Great job scheming against the defense, made a few errors and unnecessary turnovers. We are legit. Pat, wide receiver 2 tonight. He was more than WR2 tonight. He was WR1 tonight. But all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the side of the field that everyone wants to talk about. That is the defensive side of the ball. If you're watching live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. Otherwise, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. Thank you all for being patient. And we have to talk about the defense now. This has been something we've
do. We have to.
We do, Dave. We do.
No, we need to.
I know.
It's like.
So we just talked about some things that could be positives. and what we can draw from this, and maybe the team will build for. I cannot find too many things on the defensive side of the ball that you could even hang your hat on and say, well, at least this or this or this. No, it was pretty bad on the defensive side of the ball. Let's look at the Joe Flacco's numbers, shall we? 31 of 47, 342 yards, 7.3 average, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked 2 times. He had a 108.6 rating. Let's talk about the pass receivers. We're just going to do, Brian, we're just doing the pass defense, not the pass rush, just so you know. Okay. Jamar Chase, 16 catches on 23 targets. I don't think I've ever seen a number that high since we've been doing these shows together. 161 yards, 10.1 average. He had 1 touchdown and a long reception of 18 yards. So it's not like he was beating him deep. T. Higgins, 6 catches, 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 29-yard long, which what a brilliant move to stop and not go into the end zone and slide short. Just a really heads-up football play. He was targeted 10 times. Oshie Voss was 3 catches, 49 yards on 4 targets. Noah Fant, 4 catches, 4 targets, 44 yards and a touchdown. There weren't a lot of receivers catching passes, but those that did.
You didn't read the last one, Jeff.
Chase Brown, 2 for 8. Oh, minus.
No, 2 for -8 with a long of -2.
That's funny. Okay. Let's talk about the pass defense, Brian. There's a lot to discuss.
All right, I made a comment earlier that Flacco has Jamar Chase, but really when it comes down to it, they still could have won this game. They got beaten even more by Isovich and Fant. Those guys killed them in critical moments as well. So did T. Higgins, but you expect those guys to kill you. Mike Gesicki's not in the game. Noah Fant has really not done amazing things for a 20th overall pick. And I just kind of feel that they tried to sell out trying to stop those guys, even though they were in man. They wanted to stop. They still couldn't stop those guys either. But when you're not stopping the Isoviches in the world and the Noah Fants, then that's where it becomes even more of a problem and makes me wonder what in the blue hell is going on here.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on the pass defense?
Yeah, it's interesting because I watched this game my youngest son was in bed, but the rest of my family was watching it with me. My family hasn't watched a Steelers game with me together ever, and they did this one, and it was really nice, and I wish that they were all bummed that it wasn't a better outcome. But even the ones in my family, my youngins, and even my wife are like, why is that same guy open for the same thing all the time? It's like, I'm like, well, he is, the best wide receiver in the NFL, most likely, arguably. I mean, he was last year. So it's not that he's not good, and that's part of the reason why he's open. But I mean, this was the biggest problem with the Steelers defense. And let's just say this. You did not see the Steelers turning and pointing and turning their head around while everything's coming and trying to. You can tell the difference between communicating, which is me putting air quotes up there for those of you listening on the audio side, and confusion. They were confused a ton. Now, was part of that only 5 days? Did we feel better about that because they had 14 days the last week, so therefore they weren't confused? You're not always going to have 14 days. But hopefully you're not going to have 5, much more. So I don't want to make excuses. It needs to be better, but it was night and day when it came to the communication and trying to communicate to stop things. That was, in my opinion, the biggest problem in this game.
I think this is a multifaceted answer. So a lot of fans are just going to look at this. They're going to look at the 23 targets. They're going to look at the 16 receptions, the 160 yards, yada, yada, yada. I could continue to read off the stat line. But Mike Tomlin was not blowing smoke at halftime when he said the issue is that they can't stop the run. Jamar Chase has one of the best get-offs in as a receiver. Like, he can get open in a phone booth. You thought Antonio Brown was good. He's probably just as good when Antonio Brown was in his pinnacle. And so when you have Joe Flacco, you're like, look, if we can get in 3rd and 5 or less, he's going to be open. And so whether it's an out route, whether it's a little in-cutting route, we're going to get him the ball. So what do the Steelers do? The most disappointing thing wasn't the fact that the Steelers couldn't get them in obvious passing situations. They weren't stopping that either. 3rd and 18 conversions, 3rd and 14 conversions. It was the fact that Mike Tomlin and everyone among that defense said, we built this defense for this unit. We built this defense to be able to go toe-to-toe with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. But it wasn't Joe Burrow. It was 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who had been there for 10 days. And someone that I check on Twitter from time to time, Joe Ledyard, who he's a Steeler fan, but he calls it down the middle. He said Joe Flacco is succeeding in this game because he knows exactly where to go with the football pre-snap. He knows based on down and distance, what they're doing, the coverages, the motions, they're giving him exactly
and what the
he wants.
Pittsburgh Steelers specifically do.
Yes. He knows. There's a reason why Tomlin was so pissed that Joe Flacco was going to be the quarterback of the Bengals. He knew that this was a likely result in terms of how difficult it was going to be. It's disappointing on so many levels, and this is just one of them. This is just one of them. So anything to add about the pass defense, guys?
All right. No, I would have watched the way.
Love it.
Now, I just want to reiterate. People were like, oh, this guy's terrible. That guy's terrible. This was terrible. These guys weren't terrible 5 days ago, but they were on the same page. And tonight they were not. So they are only as good as their communication and understanding of stuff allows them to be.
I do want to talk about the pass rush now. The Steelers they sacked Joe Flacco 2 times with 6 quarterback hits. That's it. That's a low mark compared to what they were doing the last few weeks. Brian, what did you think about the pass rush?
Not enough. I mean, they got in there a little bit. It seemed like early they were going to get in there and disrupt, and it just went away. Where was Alex Highsmith tonight? I don't recall 56 in my vision. I don't recall Nick Herbig as well. I don't even recall, even though he's not relied to be on a pass rusher as much, but I didn't see Peyton Wilson anywhere. I didn't see, Derek Harmon was neutralized in this game. Keanu Benton was neutralized after that first big play that he made. It just seemed like that defense was away without leave.
Dave, thoughts on the pass rush?
I think the thing that frustrates me the most with the pass rush was after the Steelers took the 10-point lead, those next 2 drives, although one of them was only 3 plays, the Steelers seemed to be blitzing a lot, weakening their coverage, and yet getting nowhere close to getting home. You can't keep blitzing so much and not get anywhere close to the quarterback, because what's the whole point of blitzing? Is you're saying, hey, we're going to trust our guys, 1-on-1 or whatever, not much help or anything out there, and especially against these players at times. If the blitzing is getting home and Joe Flacco has to, get rid of the ball to nobody, he has to throw it away or he takes the sack or whatever, it's a whole different story. Then keep doing it. But it seemed like, especially I'm basically going to say where I noticed it the most. I'd have to go back and watch the game, which I don't know if I want to do. It looks like the most it was happening was in the second quarter. That it was very frustrating to send extra players and still not get pressure.
Yeah. And then, they kept on saying, man, like TJ Watt can't get home. I can't believe they can't get to the quarterback. How are they supposed to? He has a 3-step drop and the ball is out of his hands to Jamar Chase. I don't know what would have to happen. A guy would have to literally just stop and just say, come on down, and just let the player come by as a pass rusher and get to the quarterback. Brian, what do you want to say?
We're complaining. A lot of people are complaining about Watt not getting home, just like you said, but they're loving the other side of it where Aaron Rodgers is employing the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no difference between what Rodgers and Flacco did as far as their approach and their methods in this game. Of course, Flacco didn't have the 2 interceptions, but it was the same approach on both sides. They were both, I think it was a race. Who can get the ball out of their hands faster?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So we're saying the Browns, the Bengals, the Vikings couldn't get to Aaron Rodgers either. And it's the same thing. So you're living by the sword and you're dying by the sword.
All right, so Justin Gall gives us another $9.99. Says the success of the defense depends on getting to the quarterback. After quarter one, our defense looked tired for the rest of the game besides the last drive. Only positive was Chuck Clark making some great tackles, which he did.
Who was inactive last week.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. All right, so let's go back to the stat lines. I know we don't want to, but we got to talk about the run defense. Chase Brown, I mean, the Bengals were averaging, just so everyone is aware, they were averaging 56.7 yards per game on the ground running the ball as a team. The Steelers allowed them to run for 142 yards on 23 carries, a 6.2-yard average. Chase Brown leads away 11 carries for 108, a 9.8 average. Samaje Perine, 7 for 31, a 4.4 average. And Joe Flacco, who had a long of 12, like he kept on taking those 5-yard negative runs just to get the ball in the middle of the field towards the end of the game. His read option play was that third down? No, I don't think it was.
It was second down.
Yeah. 142 yards. Let's talk about
I didn't know he had the ball.
I didn't either. Brian, what do you think?
Oh, well, yeah, that was magnificent. If you're a Bengals fan, it was a work of art. And I will tell you this, they were not tackling either. Chase Brown was bouncing off people. He was doing his best Jalen Moore imitation as far as I was concerned. And we warned, the three of us agreed the other day that just when you're ready to say this is Chase Brown's having a poor season, that you don't want him to catch his wind against the Steelers. And that's exactly what he did. I
thought about that. I thought about what you said on the preview when you said you don't want to let Chase Brown have one of those get right games. That's exactly what happened. It seems like.
And he definitely got right, and it's just, and they let him do it. They were not strong enough on defense to stop that run. And when Mike Tomlin was right. When you can't stop the run, you're definitely not going to be able to stop the pass, and it makes it. It made it a whole lot harder. If they are able to stop the run in this game, I don't think they lose it because they're not going to kill you as much with the pass.
Dave, thoughts on the run defense?
I'll be honest with you. Outside of like the 4th and 1 or another 3rd and short, were the Steelers ever not in at least a nickel, if not dime? I don't remember ever seeing 3 defensive linemen out there. So they made the decision to go nickel because they needed more help defending the pass. That's not a bad strategy. The problem is you didn't stay gap sound and gave up a bunch of yards in the run. And having the extra person out there on defense in the secondary, you still couldn't communicate well and stop them. So I do understand someone had just said in there that, you know what, people didn't respect the passing game when it was Jake Browning, and therefore they just never allowed the Cincinnati to run the ball. Now you have to respect that. With Joe Flacco, you have to respect that passing game. But the Steelers respected that passing game and yet still couldn't stop it. So they left themselves slightly weaker against the run. I agree with that, but you still got to stop it. You still got to play pretty sound. There was a couple times I saw inside linebackers get caught up in the wash with stuff, and unfortunately, I may be wrong, but the couple decent run plays that I remember seeing was when it was 41 and not 55 on the field. That they were still having Cole Holcomb out there some even in nickel when they felt like, oh well, we'll go nickel, but we'll have the linebackers more against the run. Just I don't know. That was just so disappointing that you're like, now you're going to let them start running the ball because through 2 drives, everything was good. And then all of a sudden they just let everything get by.
Yep. Andrew Palladino gives us $4.99, says, I just don't understand the fact that Flacco was mediocre on the Browns and Colts, and now all of a sudden he's the second coming of the Christ. I'm lost. I don't know if it's just, the fact that he is experienced against Pittsburgh, the fact that he knows Mike Tomlin and the defense. Maybe it's kind of what we've been saying all along and what a lot of other people have been saying, that the Steelers just don't change a lot of what they typically like to do. I'll agree
especially
with you, Dave.
on a short week.
I'll agree with you, Dave, though. Like, there were a lot of times where I looked on the field, I was like, where's Cam Hayward? And they didn't have him out there because they were in their nickel or dime. And then I got to be honest, though, when it got into the obvious passing situations, where was Nick Herbig? I mean, I saw more Alex Highsmith than anything else. I would love to see the snap breakdown. When they're going to be throwing the ball as much as they are, Nick Herbig's not that bad against the run that you don't want him on the edge trying to make a play. I thought that was coaching malpractice, which let's talk about that, Brian. What do you think about the coaching staff to round out the show?
The Cincinnati Bengals were a better coaching staff tonight. And I don't have the most respect for Zach Taylor among the 32 in the league, but I thought it was a better game plan tonight. And I felt like the Steelers, like Dave mentioned, they let off a little bit with, they still tried to blitz. They weren't doing smart things. I felt there was a little bit of cockiness and a little bit of cutesiness with the coaching tonight. And the cutesiness wasn't glaring, but it was still there. And this team gets up 10, they get a little too comfortable. They don't have the killer instinct, and that's coming from the game plan.
Dave, thoughts on the coaching staff?
Yeah, but to follow up with what Brian said, I think with a game that ended up being the way that it was, Brian's right about going up 10 points and maybe getting a little bit too cutesy. They got cutesy at times on offense, like you say, the flea flicker that wasn't supposed to be. But bottom line is, you've got to do something to figure out a way to still get a game plan in on a short week. And and I saw somewhere that says both teams had to play on a short week, but the team that travels has to leave Wednesday afternoon. That's a huge disadvantage. It really is. The Steelers are on a plane when the Bengals are getting to actually run a late practice the day before. And that's what they did. Because the Steelers needed a walkthrough and then left on the plane. So you're even cut down anymore. And it's a problem. It is not a problem that's just with the Steelers. I put the numbers out there for the entire AFC North. They all suck on the road on Thursday night. All the AFC North teams. All right? So, yes, it sucks. They aren't alone. So it's not just them, but you've still got to, then you've got to do something to try to figure that out. Were they afraid to be too vanilla that Joe Flacco would pick them apart? My opinion was, especially when it got to third and long, a couple of those early ones, they were too vanilla to let Joe. You're going to just drop back in zone on third and long. You're just basically saying, okay, Joe Flacco, you can complete a pass on us and keep the drive going. So like I said, I don't think the team was prepared as well as they should have been defensively, like with the communication and everything. But I still just think, and it's pretty sad that the Steelers haven't had a home Thursday night game in a couple years now. So when it's that much of a discrepancy with things like that, maybe the NFL should try to do something a little bit better about that. But yeah, it's just, I should have expected this, but I really didn't think the defense would look that bad, especially when the offense didn't.
Yeah. All right, let's finish this up with some final thoughts. Brian, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
All right, this is not a lost season because I fully expect the Steelers to rise up against a team like the Colts or a team like and it's coming very soon, a team like the Green Bay Packers. I think especially that Packers game when that's being on a Sunday night at home because everything that's at stake there, I think it's going to be a big deal. So you move forward from this, and I also want to say that we are very we're very myopic sometimes when we just look at the Steelers and don't look at the fact that the Bills just lost two straight and Philadelphia had those losses and all of a sudden you're you're realizing that it's not just your team that this happens to. The same conversations are going to be going on in half of the cities that played this week because of that loss. Losses are magnified because you can't have too many of them, like you can in baseball, basketball, and hockey. But Dave mentioned something. Jeff did the same thing. Just the fact that there were a lot of things on offense that looked really good. Fix that defense, and they fixed it a little bit for a couple weeks, and then it's almost like they felt defeated when Joe Flacco was traded. And Mike Tomlin tipped his hand. And I agreed with everything Mike Tomlin said. But yeah, are you intimidated by Joe Flacco more than anybody else in the league? And I feel like they looked intimidated by Flacco when they didn't have to be. And I think that really got them. But I'm going to go back to something I said a couple times in the show. 10 to 20 more seconds, Boswell's on for a long field goal and probably connecting. And we're having a completely different conversation. It's just that they score too quick. And sometimes when you score too quick, that's going to happen. And Jeff knew it because Jeff said it to me before we got on the air. As soon as he scored, we were elated, and my son was cheering, and I'm like, way too much time. Yes, but too much time for the way they're picking us apart.
All right, Dave, final thoughts.
That's exactly what I said to my family. I'm like, we're all excited because, I mean, it was 2nd and 20. And you're like, can you just get the first down? Seriously, if they would have tackled Pat Freiermuth on the spot, it probably might have been a little bit better for the Steelers. Or it still might have been just them not taking a knee to run down all that time inside of 2 minutes. Just the way everything went, the Steelers defense needed to get stops sooner. And end of story. And why? And it's really tough to do late night post-game shows, particularly after a loss, because what are we going to come in here and hear from half the people? This team's terrible. This season's over. They're going to lose the next 3 games. This team has no hope or anything like that. Remember, the Steelers lost in Cleveland to a much worse Cleveland team with Jameis Winston quarterbacking last year. I once again, I should have realized that they can't break every trend. But my goodness, they had every opportunity to win this game if they just could have asked what's supposed to be their stronger unit to get the job done one other time. So it's frustrating. It sucks. You play that game, 10 more times, the Steelers probably win 8 or 9 of them, just even just the same way they were doing it. It's just, that's the NFL, and people don't. They're like, it's an excuse, But I kept saying it ahead of time. I can't hold it against the Steelers if they play poorly on Thursday Night Football, because it is what it is. And what's so funny is the people that I know that a lot of them that would say similar things that would be in the live chat, they're not here because they reach out to me and tell me I'm not getting in that live chat after the loss to deal with those people. So I get it. You're frustrated. You got some extra time now. Let's get ready for week 8. That's the best thing the Steelers can do.
All right, Justin Gall gives us $9.99. Says, so bummed we couldn't take complete control of the division tonight, but that's football. Wanted to comment on how good all our special teams were. It's another good point. Boswell, of course, and especially the kickoff return team, they are improving a lot, that unit there. Yeah, Keyshawn Williams looks like he belongs back there. Yeah, for sure, on both kickoff returns and punt returns. But I will say that the Steelers' response will be more telling to me than this loss. So, in other words, how do they bounce back on Sunday night? If they win on Sunday night against Green Bay, if they beat Indianapolis the following week, when we're going to look back on this and say that was Thursday Night Football on the road. Or is this the beginning of the end? No one knows. No one knows. That's why we got to
unless you stay tuned.
That's right. Stay tuned to find out. We'll have you covered every which way and sideways. I'll have my winners and losers podcast tomorrow, a little bit later than usual, because we want to let this marinate a little bit, the post-game show. And then it'll be on YouTube and all that fun stuff. Make sure you check out all of our podcasts on the Steel Curtain Network, wherever you get your podcast by searching Steel Curtain Network. And as always, I want to plug the website, steelcurtainnetwork.com. Check it out. Totally free, steelcurtainnetwork.com. But gentlemen, thanks.
And we lost Jeff, but he said, thank you very much. We'll see you next time on another Steelers post-game show.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.